Hi, this is John Allen, the editor of Crux. Welcome to another special video production of Crux. We are on the cusp of a truly important event in the life of the American Catholic Church. The U.S. bishops are going to be holding a convocation of the American Catholic Church, bringing together clergy and laity and activists and thinkers and all kinds of different folks. In Orlando, Florida, at the end of June and through the beginning of July. It actually is going to sort of reach a crescendo on July 4th, the Feast of American Independence. And one of the parties that is going to be there is Father Frank Donio of the Catholic Apostolate Center. And Father Frank joins us today. Father Frank, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, John. It's great being with you. I really appreciate the opportunity to talk.
So before we get into the convocation and kind of what that's all about, can you just start very briefly, tell us, what is the Catholic Apostolate Center? What do you guys do, and what is the mission of the Catholic Apostolate Center?
The Catholic Apostolate Center was founded in 2011 by the Immaculate Conception Province of the Society of the Catholic Apostolate, or the Palatine Fathers and Brothers. And we come out of a charism. We come out of the charism of St. Vincent Pallotti, who was a Roman diocesan priest. And that's where we get our nickname from, Palatines. And this understanding that he had that everybody was called to be an apostle. And he created an association of lay people, religious, and clergy back in 1835 in Rome, to do charitable works, to assist the missions, and to revive the faith of Catholics. So the Catholic Apostolate Center is really a 21st century expression of that. We work with a variety of Catholic organizations, the Bishops' Conference, national Catholic organizations. We also assist in creating greater co-responsibility and collaboration in the church. So that's really what our mission is, and we've been involved with that for the last 5.5 years, and the Holy Spirit's been moving things along.
And how did you get this gig, Father Frank? I mean, I'm sure you were probably just minding your business one day, right? And the phone rang and said, "Hey, would you be willing to do this?" I mean, is that how it worked?
Well, it's really out of a discussion that we as a community were having as to what it is that additionally that we could do for the church in the United States. And now it's actually gone because of social media and the internet and websites and so forth. It's gone international. We've even moved into Latin America now. And at the same time, we also, as a province, developed a mission in the Andes in Peru, in an area that really needed re-evangelization after terrorism, really internal terrorism. And so those two projects have been new opportunities for us as a province on the East Coast of the United States to really become involved. But this project also involves a number of lay people who are engaged as collaborators, as staff members. It really bespeaks our charism for today. And so I was involved in the planning and the development of it and part of our provincial leadership. And so out of that came this as well.
Well, I mean, in any event, I guess it's a classic illustration of being in the right place at the right time. Tell me this. I know that the Catholic Apostolate Center in many ways sees itself as an expression of the new evangelization in the church, the spirit of a new evangelization that was called for by Pope John Paul II, by Pope Benedict XVI, and of course echoed by Pope Francis. Talk to me a little bit about how you see what you do as an expression of what new evangelization is all about.
Well, if new evangelization, as John Paul II was talking about, is new in methods, is new in ardor, new different ways in which we can go about it, well, one of the ways in which we looked at was how can we reach an extensive group of people. We do a lot of work on social media. We have a fairly sizable presence there. We also have tried to take resources that are difficult to find, sometimes, for example, on different websites, and aggregate them around various topics. We also have been developing our own resources together with a variety of organizations. We also believe that technology is one of the ways in which you can reach people. Now, that's not going to take away personal engagement, personal contact, but to assist people in becoming, we're pretty clear that we're about active Catholics. That's our audience, if you will. And the people that we're serving helping them to become apostles or missionary disciples. And so really it's that reviving of faith that I was talking about earlier, that Pilate was talking about in the 1830s in Rome, is exactly what we saw after the council, even with Paul VI, about being witnesses to the faith and not just simply teachers. So this whole conversation about evangelization that also includes the new evangelization is something that we're about as a community, and that therefore the Catholic Apostolate Center has as a center point of its mission.
And so, Father Frank, first of all, where are you guys based? And if people want to find the resources that you have to offer online, where can they do that?
We're based in Washington, D.C., and you can go to CatholicApostolatecenter.org. Just take our whole name, CatholicApostolatecenter.org, and you'll be able to find us very quickly.
All right. So let's talk about this convocation. The U.S. bishops came up with this bright idea of calling this kind of massive national gathering of American Catholics this summer in Orlando. So this is laity, it's clergy, it's the theological class of the American church, it's the activists and the doers, it's pretty much everybody. And the idea is to sort of bring them together and kind of reflect on where we're at in terms of the new evangelization in the United States and where we need to go. Talk to us, Father, about like how you see the importance of this gathering and what your role in it is.
The importance of the gathering is that it is an unprecedented gathering of the U.S. bishops. The last time that they gathered leaders in the United States was in 1917, that they would gather a group of across the board of leaders, laity, clergy, bishops themselves, to come together to look at where are we as church and where are we called to go. And this really is following out the call of Pope Francis that he talks about in Evangelii Gaudium, his apostolic exhortation, the joy of the gospel. And that's why it's called Convocation of Catholic Leaders, the joy of the gospel in America. It's really, how are we living out the joy of the gospel? Living it out, not just simply within our churches, but how are we going out? How are we taking that message that we have received and not just simply preaching, but living it by our deeds, by how we may live in the public square, how we may live in our families. What are the ways in which in our workplace, what are the things that we're doing? How are we living? So it's taking looking at the whole landscape of where the church is under the auspices of the bishops, calling these leaders together to really reflect. Now, these are delegations that are selected by dioceses, associations, movements, organizations that have all been invited. And often they're not in the same room together, John. Many times they're at their own separate, different gatherings where oftentimes there's a lot of like-mindedness. Instead, what the bishops want to do is say, let's get everybody in the room who try and get a good cross-section and representation of the church in the United States for us to have a critical conversation that can then be carried back to our dioceses, back to these organizations, back to these different movements and associations, so that we can continue to not only help others encounter Christ, but then how do we then accompany them? How do we build community? And how does everyone sent out into the world? So the center's opportunity over this time has been to be involved with the planning of the program, to be involved with providing some technological support through webinars, to prepare participants, to be involved in some breakout sessions and exhibiting, but also to be involved we've been involved in the development of a document by the U.S. bishops, the Evangelization Catechesis Committee, called Living as Missionary Disciples. And that document really outlines how do we live truly as missionary disciples as church in the United States today, and how do we prepare our parishes particularly to be places that form people in this way.
Well, listen, I mean, I think you're doing heroic work trying to game up for this thing. The one thing I would argue with you on is that you said you've been involved in preparing some of these breakout sessions. You know, I've been asked to speak at one of these breakout sessions, and I guess my take would be if I'm the best that the American Catholic Church can come up with, we're in much worse shape than I thought. So, you know, other than rethinking that, I think this shapes up as a really terrific event. Can you talk a little bit about what you hope will come out of it? I mean, what do you hope the concrete results of this thing will be?
Well, first off, I think your humility is a wonderful thing. But you know, your commentary on a variety of topics is extremely important. And the breakout sessions have been set up so that they are really conversations. They're not just too often when we go to different conferences, there's these, you know, different Catholic celebrities that might speak about a variety of things. But instead, we're trying to create conversation so that then the delegations who are also experts in their own place can go forward. The hope is that people will then, who are leaders, will go back to their dioceses, to their different organizations, and continue this conversation of greater renewal in the church that Pope Francis has called for, and really the Synod on the New Evangelization called for, and Pope Francis continued on with this, with Evangelii Gaudium. And it's trying to assist the church in moving forward and not just simply staying put and saying, oh, we're going to keep maintaining. A number of dioceses are already doing this. A number of organizations already are. But there's a lot of places that are under-resourced or even haven't begun a conversation or maybe feel very overwhelmed by their situation. The Convocation hopefully will be an opportunity to energize them to be able to move forward.
So, Father Frank, for people who, because obviously even though this is a massive event, I mean, you know, most American Catholics obviously are not going to be able to be in Orlando at the time this is going on. But for people who want to follow this and sort of dip into some of the conversations that are going on, what's the best way for them to do that?
There's a couple of different ways. The USCCB and EWTN are going to be providing coverage of the main sessions all throughout the Convocation. So the USCCB Bishops' Conference will have a live stream that will be there. Now, the breakout sessions won't be there because we want to be able to keep those as conversations rather than as presentations. But the main sessions, the main liturgies are all going to be, all the different masses and other liturgical events are going to be available publicly. Also, the participants' guidebook is available in ebook form and also a PDF on our website. We have a whole Convocation page, so does the USCCB. And they've really tried to be as very transparent as possible and hope that people will become part of the conversation. There's even videos of a variety of preparatory videos, plus even those webinars I was talking about that prepare participants so people can really see what's going to be happening there. Also, because not everybody can also afford different dioceses that may not be able to afford to send people to have the conversation really going on. The hope is that when people get back, that they, even if they were not able to be there, that they'll prepare ahead through prayer and conversation with their colleagues, participate, and then bring that back and continue that conversation.
All right, well, we have been speaking with Father Frank of the Catholic Apostolate Center, one of the movers and shakers involved in putting together the Convocation of Catholic Leaders that is going to be taking place in Orlando, Florida later this month. Father Frank, what are the exact dates of the Convocation again?
The 1st to the 4th of July.
So the 1st to the 4th of July in Orlando, Florida. You can track that historically important event on the website of the Catholic Apostolate Center and also on the website of the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. Father Frank, I hope when this is over, when the dust is settled from the Convocation, we can have you back on here in Crux and kind of get a post-game analysis from you. Is that something you'd be willing to do?
I'd be happy to do, certainly.
All right. Well, listen, this has been a special video feature brought to you by Crux. Please do check out the web resources of the Catholic Apostolate Center online. Google them. Just go to the URL of the Catholic Apostolate Center. It's a fantastic resource for the new evangelization. Also, do be tracking the Convocation of Catholic Leaders sponsored by the Catholic bishops. We at Crux are going to be all over that. I will be in Orlando, so will the Crux co-editor and our Vatican correspondent, Inez San Martin, who is fluent in Spanish, who will be bringing us the Spanish language elements of that event. By the way, Father Frank, Inez's plan is after she is done wrapping up her coverage, she's going to go to Disney World on the evening of July 4th to get the fireworks show. Do you want to be part of that? Do you want to hang with us? What do you think?
Well, I'd be happy to. That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm not leaving until the 5th, so after things are over with, I'm happy to go wherever on the 4th and celebrate.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Inez has never actually seen July 4th in America, so I figured this is the right way to experience it. But in any event, you will be able to find full coverage on the Crux site. Please do be following that. Father Frank, thank you for being with us. I am John Allen, the editor of Crux. Please be checking our Facebook site, our YouTube site, and also the Crux site itself, www.cruxnow.com, for the latest on our special video coverage. Until next time, thank you for being with us.